Welcome to Make Your Mark podcast, where guests share their experiences, insights, and tactics to help you accelerate your business. So building, scaling, and monetizing your business is made easier. And I will be your host, Suthar. I have an amazing guest for you today. In fact, today's guest, he took an accidental kitchen table startup with zero investment all the way through to sale and to PLC. He became known as Mr. Online Bingo, and his business won 10 industry awards over its 18-year lifespan. His business also created and hosted their own industry awards ceremony, an industry annual report, and was the first in the sector to advertise on TV. That's right, guys, I said TV. Phil now works as a business sounding board. Think of it as somewhere between being a coach and being a mentor, helping ambitious SME business owners to avoid the stress of being lonely at the top. Phil is a keynote speaker, has chaired industry summits, has appeared in print, online, and on many webinars and live events, as well as countless podcasts and video interviews. Please welcome to the stage, all the way from sunny Leeds, but currently in Spain, Phil Fraser from Business Sounding Board. Oh my goodness, Phil, thank you for coming down.
Hey, what a build-up. What a build-up that is. Who is this guy? He sounds fantastic.
I'm glad you loved it. You know what? The thing is, anything less, it would have worked.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
You have done so much. You've helped so many people, achieved and accomplished so many different things. I had to give it my all. Right? Anything less wouldn't have worked at all. But thank you so much for coming onto the show and sharing, these golden nuggets about what you've done. But before we get into the nitty-gritty, first tell us a little bit about yourself, what you did before stepping into building your own business.
Okay, so like many people, I did the usual sort of school, sixth form, university. Came out of university with no idea what I wanted to do.
Right.
Which is fine. My parents suggested I should be an accountant because that's a good profession.
Right.
So I got myself a job as a trainee accountant, which I managed to last just under a year at. It just wasn't me. But I remember when I went in to see the managing partner to give my notice in, he said, "Phil, I think you've made the right decision."
Really? Oh my!
It was a great vote of confidence.
Why would he say that?
I wasn't cut out to be an accountant. Although having said that, it did give me a very good base for when I started running my own business to understand the basics of business.
Yes, definitely.
So having failed as a trainee accountant, I then fell into selling advertising space. So I, like many a person, went down to London to find my fame and fortune, spent 6 years down there at various companies selling advertising, had a stint as a recruitment consultant as well, and then came back up to Leeds again, initially with a job selling advertising, which was with the now departed Yellow Pages,
Yeah.
which I have to say, and obviously Yellow Pages now no longer with us, I'm allowed to say this, I hated that job, absolutely hated it with a passion, because it was having been sort of office-based and sort of selling quite nice products, or selling advertising to quite nice products. I was now going out and, with all due respect to tradesmen, sort of going out and sitting on upturned milk crates on building sites, trying to sell small black and white ads to builders and things like that.
No way. Oh my God, you did all that. That's why the Yellow Pages were like that thick back in the day, right?
Absolutely. So I just detested that job. But I ended up sort of slightly swapping horses and ended up at an advertising agency as an account director, and absolutely loved that, and spent 6 years at a absolutely fantastic company, learned a huge amount, took a lot of the culture from the ad agency to my business. And so timeline, this is just coming up to the turn of the century, so sort of 98, 99. And we started having clients coming to us saying, I want one of these newfangled websites that I've heard about on the World Wide Web. So, so as an ad agency, we're like, we best start offering this as a service. And luck be it, I was sort of tasked with sort of being the account handling side of heading up that, what you now call a digital division, but at the time I think we were just making it up. And after six and a half years at the ad agency, when you're in a service environment like an ad agency, you put ideas in front of clients and you go, well, you can either have this one, or this one. Which one do you want? And from an account handler's point of view, it doesn't make any difference to my job which ad you go with. So I'd actually got to the point where I thought, I want to be the decision maker.
Yes.
I want to go client side. Yeah. So, and this new internet thing looks like it might have a future.
Maybe just a little.
It might have a future. So I tell you what, I'd like to go client side on something internet based, but unsure as to whether the internet might have a future. I thought I'll try and go with a sort of a big safe company. So I ended up at William Hill, the bookies, because their head office was in Leeds, and I was recruited to launch their first ever online casino.
Oh wow!
So that is the precursor to launching my own business.
Oh, so you didn't do much then, just a little.
No, and it's interesting actually, because I now often I'll go into schools and sixth forms and speak to them about careers and things like that.
Oh, wow.
And I'll explain that story to them and say, look, and you remember when you were at school and the teachers used to say to you, what do you want to do? And having done that sort of career path, I say to these kids, and I don't know if the teachers are happy with me saying it, what you do next year, the year after, when you're 18, 19, 20, whatever it might be, that will probably will have no bearing on what you end up doing.
Yeah.
And, I'm proof of that, because I didn't launch my business till I was 32.
Right. And do you know what? It's funny that you say that, because when I was younger, I had no idea what I wanted to be either when I was older. And everyone around you thinks, okay, that's strange. Like, you need to get your shit together if you don't know what you want to be when you're older, And in fact, there's nothing wrong with it. Nothing wrong with it. We're all put on this journey to figure out what our passion is. And therefore, you got to go on that journey to figure that out. And so,
I was going to say, and all those things I learned over that journey, for each of those different jobs that I did, I picked something up that then rolled into what I eventually did.
Right. Yeah. So they were all skills that were leading up to building your own business.
Correct.
Right. Awesome. Now, Phil, I heard a little bird told me that you have this uncanny ability to help business owners to not be lonely at the top. Like, you got to tell us a little bit more about that.
Okay, so let's jump all the way forward post sale of my business, and and it's great. It's interesting actually. You read all these business books and you listen to podcasts and stories and everything, and they tell you all this. You've got to grow a business, and the end game is to sell. And actually, what they don't do is they don't do the next chapter, which is, what do you do after that?
Right. Yeah. So what do you do after that?
What do you do after that? Yeah, absolutely. So once I bought the yacht and the island and all that sort of thing. So I'd sold and was sort of kicking around deciding what to do. And what happened was, a number of friends and contacts that I've got who have businesses came to me just to bounce things around with. I've got this issue, I've got this problem, I'm thinking of selling. What does selling look like? So I was just sort of giving out my 10 penneth. And then it was actually, so this was going back to the start of lockdown. I was still pondering what I wanted to, what do you want to do with what do you want to do when you grow up? And thought, well, actually, people seem to be getting a benefit from this advice I'm giving them.
Right.
And I'm enjoying that. I love talking to people about their businesses. And so I thought, actually, I'm going to try and do this as a proper job, as a sort of sell the service. Right. And it all comes back to the business journey I've been on, that, when you do run your own business, and the cliche is absolutely right, it's lonely at the top. It's fantastic running your own business. There's loads and loads of plus points, but you have to make the call, whether it be strategic, whether it be recruitment, whether it be marketing, whatever it might be. And a lot of the time it's, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm making this up as I go along. And I felt that a lot during my career. So my service is to be there next to the business owner. So the business owner can say, Phil, I've got this issue. can we just talk about it? Now, that issue might be a positive, it might be a negative, it might be a huge opportunity. It might be something like, and I've had this with clients who said, well, I've got 3 fantastic ideas as to which way to go. Can I just chuck them around with you and sort of decide, trying to sort out myself which way to go? Right. And often, you have things sort of spinning around in your head, and it doesn't become real until you vocalize it. It sort of, as you're saying it, it sort of grows into something real. Right. And often clients will sit with me and go, just listen. And and they'll talk through it. And as they're talking through it, they'll go, no, that's crap, isn't it? And then go down another line and go, actually, that's quite good. And all I'm doing is sort of prodding and poking. I just go, have you thought about that? Why? The classic business question, why'd you do it like that? Well, we've always done it like that, or we did it like that in my old business. And somebody looking from the outside in can look at it and go, that's daft. Why are you doing it that way? Why didn't you do it this way? Or we had that situation and this is how it played out with us. So all of those issues you have as a business owner that are rolling around in your head, and perhaps you might speak to your wife or your husband, or you might speak to a business friend, a friend who's got business about it, until you've actually got somebody who, and it's important, who is totally independent, who doesn't have a dog in the race. So, I've got a friend who's also a business coach, and he uses the phrase, somebody has to tell you your baby is ugly.
Right.
Somebody has to say that's a shit idea, or take it to the nth degree. Your business isn't going anywhere. It's going down the pan. Stop now. Now, your wife or your husband isn't going to say that, because they're going to go, oh, shit, what are we going to do? Your sales manager isn't going to say that. Your friend who's also got a business, they might advise you and help you, but I don't think they're going to go, do you know what, Kay? Your business is shit, shut it down and go and get a job. They're not going to say that. Somebody totally independent, as I say, a business sounding board like me, can do that, because I'm totally independent.
And you know what? I totally understand that, because I have a mentor and I do exactly that. It's funny because when I first got a mentor, and I was like, I've got all these ideas, and I'm like telling him all these ideas, and he goes, but what about X, Y, and Z? I'm like, oh, I haven't thought about that. And
correct.
I'm like, next idea, and I'm like, oh yeah, this is going to happen, and we're going to do this, and blah blah blah. And he's like, well, have you thought about this? And I'm like, and it got me so frustrated, because I was like, one of these days you're going to love my ideas.
They're all brilliant ideas until you tell somebody about them.
You're right.
I've had them. Don't worry, I've had them.
But the thing is, it gets you thinking, and it helps you with the next idea, right? Because you didn't think about what the X, Y, and Z was at this point, but now you're going to think about it at the next point. So they just get better and better. And then it took about a year, right? That my mentor finally loved my ideas, right? And we got them rolling. And I'm like, thank God for that. But it took all these different perspectives from my mentor before I came down to a really good idea that's actually going to work, right? So we totally need, a sounding board just like yourself, definitely. So I want to touch up on, just going back a little bit, you mentioned that you created a business accidentally at a kitchen table. Tell us a little bit about that. How did that happen?
Okay, so let's go back to William Hill. So as I said, I was tasked with launching their online casino, the first ever online casino that they had. Yeah. And while I was there, we came across the concept of online bingo.
Okay.
So I did a presentation to the board as to what the market looked like, whether we should do it, all that sort of stuff. They decided at the time not to do it. And the end of the year that I'd been at William Hill, I left. I went off and did some consultancy work. And sort of long story short, somebody was talking to me and said, I want to get to this online gaming space. And I said, you want to get to online bingo? That's going to be the next big thing. And then sort of 24 hours later, I thought, hang on a minute, if I'm telling somebody else to get into it, why don't I do it?
Right.
So what I did was I sort of dusted down this William Hill report that I'd done, sort of changed it around a bit, put some more figures into it, and took it out to the market for angel investment for what would have been the UK's first ever online pay-to-play online bingo site.
Right.
Okay. this is proper Dragon's Den in the real world type stuff.
Right.
You know, that failed completely, totally for various reasons. It was right in the middle of the dot-com bubble bursting. It was legally grey, so people weren't exactly sure whether it was right or not.
Right.
It was only in the US. So the key question, the first question I was asked, well, if this is going to be so brilliant, why aren't Mecca and Gala doing it?
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
And the answer is, as in many, many sectors, these big, huge companies are so big, they're doing the big stuff. Why would they mess around with something tiddly and new on the market? It's almost like the elephant that doesn't see the mouse sort of thing. But what had happened was I built a very, very simple website that listed all the, at the time, only US bingo sites that were in the market. And on it, I'd put a very simple pop-up questionnaire to get some player data so that I could use the data in my presentation. So I sounded like I knew what I was talking about. So I, age, sex, demographics, spend patterns, frequency, recency, all that sort of stuff. So I sounded like I knew what I was doing. What happened was a number of the US bingo sites that were listed on my website contacted me and said, can we advertise on your website?
Ah.
So I said, and bearing in mind my history was selling advertising.
Right.
I said, yeah, send me some money and I'll work out how to put a banner ad on a page. And that became the business.
Oh, I see.
So our website, which was, as I say, an adjunct to this presentation that I'd done, we were fortunate. We were in the right place at the right time. The business, the market hugely grew, and obviously we were there, and more people were advertising on our website.
Right.
So myself and my wife at home, kitchen table. Okay, let's sort of see if we can make this work. And I was still doing a bit of consultancy work at the time, and also I was still looking for a proper job. And I actually I got a job offer, very nice digital agency, very nice job, salary, car, the whole works.
Right.
I went in to see them on the Friday before the Monday I was due to start and said, I can't take this job. I have this thing that is starting to happen.
Yeah.
I'm going to give it a go. I mean, a real sliding doors moment,
Wow.
Because I could have quite easily taken that. It was a very nice job. I could take that job, part this thing that was happening, and it might never have happened.
That's right. Oh my goodness. See, now there's a lot of people that would probably have taken that job.
Yeah, absolutely.
So just digging a little bit deeper on that, why did you choose not to take that job and see where this business took you?
That's a brilliant question. Nobody's ever asked me that. I remember actually coming out of the meeting, having told them I don't want the job, and rang my mum and said, that job I told you I got, I've decided not to take it. And she was like, how mums do, like, oh, okay, darling. And I could hear her voice like, oh my God, what have you done?
I've been there.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah, I had 2 young kids at the time. What the hell are you talking about? I think looking back, there were a couple of things. One was, obviously it was new and exciting and it was happening. So I thought, all right, let's roll with it. And I think there was something in the back of my mind, which was, do you know what? If it doesn't work, I'll back myself to get another job a bit further down the line.
Right.
If give it sort of, and I don't think I sort of proactively thought this, but I think subconsciously it was like, let's give it 6 months. And if it doesn't work, I'll go and get another job.
Right.
So there was that sort of safety net. And I think that in a lot of situations, when you think about it, and it's something I talk about a lot now, is what's the worst that could happen?
Exactly.
All right. I mean, obviously, financially, there's lots of really, really terrible things that happen. But, within reason, okay, we get to a point where I think, right, I've got to get a job.
Yeah, definitely. Like, you got to give things a go, right? Without knowing or trying it out, you're never really going to know what you're capable of, right? Or what you transpire from it. And you just never know. You have to give it a go. That's what I believe anyway. And that's the thing. If it doesn't work out, then you can go find a job. Well, we can figure it out. Mm-hmm. We have those choices. At the end of the day, you do have those choices, and you can make those choices. It's not end and beyond. It's not over, kind of thing. And so, yeah, definitely, I love that. And so tell me this, Phil, what actually qualifies you as an expert? Like, did you have to go and get qualifications to do this? Like, what qualifies you?
I think what qualifies me, as if we talk about being a business sounding board, is been there, done that, and got the battle scars. I've done the, waking up at 3:00 at night going, oh my God, how am I going to sort this problem out?
Oh, wow.
I've done the working at weekends, the working at night. Going back to when we first started, when we did take holidays, if they were abroad, the first thing I had to do was check whether they had an internet cafe, because I'd obviously have to continue working. So I think, there are lots and lots of business coaches out there, and, some of them will just buy a franchise, no names. Some of them will read a couple of books and claim to be a business coach. But I position myself as simply somebody who's slightly further down the business road and the business journey than my clients. And it really is been there, done that, got the t-shirt. In most instances, the situations we're discussing, I might not have had exactly the same situation, but I've been somewhere similar.
Right. You've got real life experience in this.
Absolutely. And it's very, very hard sometimes to think, well, how can you coach somebody unless you've been there and done it?
Exactly. Yeah, definitely. I mean, is that going back to, when you're in college and uni and you getting taught business, but these teachers are professional teachers, not business owners.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
That doesn't make sense. I mean, at the time you don't think about it, but when someone explains it to you, well, you got taught business by a teacher and not someone that has built a business or anything about a business, and you're like, oh yeah, right. Yeah. And so getting taught and being mentored and coached by someone like you that's been there, done it, and got the t-shirt for it, like you said, it makes a dramatic change in your own business. Definitely. Mm-hmm. So I would love it at this point, Phil, if you could teach a principle to our audience that they can relate to and immediately apply in their business.
Okay, let me give you a really, really quick exercise. Okay? It's really, really quick. And this is sort of an example of how I work with my clients. Okay, but I'm going to run through it really, really quickly. And if you go on my website, there's a bit more about it. So I call this the PITA pattern. Okay, the PITA being PITA, pain in the arse. Okay, so and anybody who's listening, get a pen and paper, and you have to do this really, really quickly. So number one, write down the biggest pain in the arse in your business at the moment. Okay? So, okay, you don't have to do it now, but do it in your mind, okay?
Yes.
What's exactly. You've got one, yeah? You've already got one. Yep. Okay, so you now write down 3 possible solutions to that problem.
Okay.
Okay, so there might be 3 completely different solutions, okay?
Right. Yeah.
For each solution, I then want you to, and this is why you have to write it down, because you'll get stuck in your brain doing this. 3 pros for why that's a good idea.
Okay.
Okay. So it might be it's quick, it's cheap, we've done it before, whatever it might be. So 3 pros for each of those solutions.
Right. Okay.
And then 3 cons for each of those solutions. Why are they a bad idea?
Right.
Okay. It's going to take too long. It's too expensive. We've done it before and it didn't work. Whatever they might be.
Right.
So you've got your real pain in the ass problem.
Yep.
You've got 3 possible solutions.
Yep.
You've got 3 pros for each solution. You've got 3 cons for each solution.
Mm-hmm.
You can now look at that piece of paper and go, right, okay, which one are we going to go with? Let's do it.
Okay.
Solve our problem.
You know what? And you just made that sound so simple. Right?
There you go.
Probably like, oh my goodness, I've got these problems and I don't know how to find a solution. You just made it completely simple, right? Pen and paper, let's figure out possible solutions and let's do the pros and cons. Simple as that. I love it. So simple. So it would be great to hear a few of your success stories that you've had recently, just to kind of share with the audience.
Okay. I think, and just going back to what I do, when you set up a business, there's certain things you do. I'll get an accountant, I'll get a lawyer if I need a lawyer, bookkeeper, whatever it might be. Yeah. People don't think about getting a coach or a mentor or a sounding board. So it's really hard for them to understand, A, why I need one, B, what the benefits are. But my last client, or my most recent client, he sent me a testimonial. And he said some of the last line of testimony was something like, "You allowed me to fall back in love with my business."
Aww.
And that's what I'm trying to do. It goes back to the lonely at the top. And he got to the point where it was just like, oh God, there's so much shit going around in my head. I could hate this business. And you shouldn't be like that with your own business. You should love it. You should, and people say, if you do something you love, you'll never work a day in your life. So I'm there to relieve that pain, that tension, all those stresses of clients, just to be able to say, can I just talk to somebody about this? And, as people say in life, talking about things make them a lot easier. Yeah. But sometimes it's clarity. So sometimes it's, I've got this problem, let's work it out. Other times it's, and I've had clients who've got big businesses, in fact, bigger than my business ever was, and said, Phil, am I okay to do this? Right. Whatever this task is. And it's just a bit of validation or authority. I also work with, sometimes I work with clients as an accountability partner. And again, one of the beauties of running your own business is you get to choose what you do. Yeah. The downside is you've got nobody saying, "Kay, did you do X, Y, and Z?" Yeah. So, if I'm there and go, "Look, Kay, we had a meeting last week and you said you were going to do this, this, and this," and you're more likely to do it if you've got somebody doing that rather than. I use the example, as business owners, because we can pick and choose what we do, you end up sort of pushing a cold piece of broccoli around your plate. Right. You should eat it. It's good for you, but you really just don't want to do it. No. So unless your mum's there saying, "Eat your broccoli,"
I totally do that.
And it's like that in business. And as business owners, we end up doing the things we like doing or we want to do, and sometimes we don't end up doing the things we should be doing.
Yes.
And then the other side of it as well is, a lot of it is this looking from the outside in. Mm-hmm. And a lot of business owners, as you grow your business, you sort of slice bits of you off, and different people get different jobs and all that sort of thing. Right. And you end up with your stuff. And sometimes the stuff you end up with is stuff you shouldn't be doing.
Yes.
But actually you quite like doing it, so you carry on doing it. And unless somebody comes in and goes, "Okay, why are you still doing that? Why haven't you got a bookkeeper or a freelance web designer?" And I was talking to somebody on a podcast yesterday, and she was talking about editing her own podcasts. And I said, "Why don't you get an editor in?"
Yes. Oh.
And because then when you've got your skill is being, the host and all of that sort of stuff, not the editor. So actually, you can go out and interview lots more people and do lots more podcasts and give the editing to somebody else, not you wasting your time doing something is not your skill set and you shouldn't be doing. But until somebody says that to you, you end up doing it.
Yes, that's so true, and that's so funny because I totally from the very beginning I've outsourced my editing. I don't do none of that, none of the show notes. I have someone else that does it for me. And in fact, I built my own team, and I actually have my own editing podcast services now, which is
fantastic.
Freaking awesome. Yeah. But yeah, totally. If it's not your skill, you don't need to learn how to do it. Just get someone else to do it. You get back more time for yourself to do what you need to do. Definitely. So at this point, I know, Phil, that people are thinking, "Oh my goodness, how do I get hold of Phil? I need him as my sounding board." So where can people find you? And do you have any additional free support that maybe they can download?
Okay, so the best place to find me is my website, which is www.philfraser.co.uk. Don't go to philfraser.com because that's a medieval reenactment costume company. So if you get to a website with lots of bows and arrows and things like Robin Hood and all that sort of thing, that's not me. So it's .co.uk. There's a big blog section on there which I call Nouse of Fraser.
Okay.
Do you like that? Nouse of Fraser.
I do like that.
And all my podcast interviews and stuff like that, and things like the PITA is on there. I have a 5-step strategic tool that I've built called the FFS.
Okay.
Doesn't stand for FFS. It stands for Fraser 5-step, not anything else you might think FFS stands for. And I've got a newsletter that comes out on a sort of irregular basis, which has lots of great stuff in there. And anybody wants to connect with me, I'm on LinkedIn. Just search me on LinkedIn. I'm on there most days. And yeah, happy to talk to or support anybody who's got any issues in business.
Amazing. And guys, remember all the links, everything that Phil has just mentioned, there will be in the show notes below. So make sure you scroll down Phil, it was amazing to have you on here. Thanks for coming on board. So many golden nuggets. I love the sounding board and the service and everything that you provide to people. Amazing. Thanks again for coming onto the show.
Pleasure. Thanks for having me, Kate.
Thanks for listening to Make Your Mark podcast at www.makeyourmarkpodcast.com. Make sure you hit that subscribe button so you get this and every other episode that comes out. We have lots of great stuff coming, so make sure you hit subscribe so you don't miss it. And thank you in advance for all the reviews and comments. I appreciate it so much, and I look forward to serving you in next week's episode.